Surfside is a microcosm of South Florida cities. Same issues like development and traffic and rising sea waters and quality of life. Elections there are underway this week, and among them, the mayor and former mayor are in a rematch that has become a lot about personality more than policy at times. More than 2 years since the catastrophe of the condo collapse put Surfside in worldwide headlines, the news about it now is more about fights and cursing and personal attacks, so much drama. Both candidates right here in their only television debate, which we appreciate so much. Current Mayor Shlomo Danziger running for re-election and a second term. His opponent is Charles Burkett, Surfside's former mayor, twice, who lost 2 years ago by fewer than a few dozen votes. And that is how close we get in Surfside. Welcome to the table. Not a formal debate, a big conversation, a lot of issues that I want to go over. For the people of Surfside, but for the people of South Florida, we have a big, broad audience. But first, I want to get rid of the elephant in the room, or stay with it if you like. You know, it's just become really nasty in Surfside, and there's finger pointing and yelling and cursing and arrests this week that people are yelling about. So I want you to kind of detail that for me. And since you are the city mayor, Shlomo Danziger, please go first. How did it get this nasty?
Thank you, Glenna. Good morning. I just want to say over the last couple of years, I've watched you cover a lot of important issues, anti-Semitism in South Florida, the ongoing Israeli hostage crisis. I wanted to thank you for your work on that. I think what you're seeing is something that has seeped down from our national politics. People are just so passionate about a lot of the different issues, and as a smaller town, some of the smaller issues, they get very passionate. But I don't see a town divided. I see an election process which has gotten heated, but ultimately if you look around the Surfside community, I mean, we have events, we have families coming out, we have people walking the streets, going to the beach, smiling, talking to each other, so that's a city that I see.
So are you saying it's just what you see on the news? Is that what you're saying?
I think these messages are pushed out a little more and promulgated because it makes great stories, but walk the streets of Surfside, you see people smiling and waving at each other. That's the city that I see.
Charles Burkett, do you have the same vision?
I think that the campaign, there are stark differences. The current mayor is a friend of the developing community.
Oh, we'll talk about all of those.
We will, and I'm just saying, and the stark differences represent the dreams and wishes and aspirations of the residents. You know, some residents think what he's promoting is good. A lot of residents think it's bad.
Talk to me about the actual commission meetings
that
have devolved into bedlam.
Yeah, his meetings, you mean?
Well, you both, can I just say, you both have been involved.
Right. Well, listen, I just think that, he's got a habit of throwing people out that disagree with him. He's got a habit of using his police force.
Is that true?
Well, you can see it on video. I mean, he doesn't have to answer that question. People have seen the police take people out.
But I'd like to get on the record. Do you throw people out who don't agree with you?
Absolutely not. So actually, I've had to go before ethics a few months after I was elected because somebody did that same complaint. And my comment to them was to go watch a video of our meetings. And I said, I'm not going to tell you which one. Just watch and listen to the rhetoric that I have to listen to when it's directed at me. And when they're done, I say thank you, and they get back up and do it again. There are rules of decorum. There are rules the way these meetings are supposed to run. Historically, the chair did not run the meetings those ways, and you ended up with people flipping people off on camera.
Are you talking about when
Well,
yes, it was. The meetings were a free-for-all. One of the objectives that I came in to do was restore decorum to our meetings. And these aren't the rules that I wrote, but they exist in our town code and Robert's Rules of Order.
What has happened is he's weaponized the rules, and he uses the rules to interrupt, to interfere, and to just basically stifle dissent. And that's a problem, because people should be able to get up, speak their piece, but if he doesn't like it, you're gone. And, our meetings were a little noisy, no doubt. He was one of the people that used to come up. He stormed up to, without even being invited, storms up, screams at commissioners, and he throws people out for that. He stands up and says, you will direct your comments to me, you will not speak to another commissioner, and you will not get noisy and boisterous. Well, it's funny. He did exactly that. And when he did it, I did not throw him out. I told him to please, stop doing that. We're going to go in regular order. We're going to go by the rules, but that wasn't good enough for him.
So I just want to thank you for not interrupting here at all. I do want to take care of a very quick technical problem, so we're going to go to a quick break. and we will be back in a couple of minutes and get into a lot of policy stuff.
Good.
Okay,
Looking
stay
forward.
tuned. All right, crisis averted. We are back with Mayor of Surfside, Shlomo Danziger, and mayoral candidate and former mayor Charles Burkett. Let's get into some policy issues that everyone in South Florida will sit up and say, yes, development, what some would call overdevelopment, what some would call terrible development. Surfside is, 8 blocks long and very popular with developers. A lot of development going on right now under your tenure, Mayor, that was already approved and permitted under your previous tenure as mayor. So, Mayor Danziger, let's start with you. What about development here is going to be for residents and keep the quality of life? How are you managing that, and what do you tell them?
So there's two aspects, I guess.
And might I say, when I looked at the financials of your campaign, a lot of real estate and development money is in your campaign.
Well, I wouldn't say real estate development. I have a lot of friends that are in real estate.
Okay, fair enough.
Many of them from out of state. These are friends. I haven't always lived in South Florida. I've traveled, and I've lived in other states, and people support me. I've built up a group of friends.
Not
So
a
I am proud of
pejorative,
that.
just for the record. I'm just stating facts.
Yep. But there is, like I said, there's two aspects. There's commercial development and residential development. One of the things the opposition keeps telling people is we're going to have 70-story buildings like Sunny Isles. We're going to have 5-story homes. I think it's important to note that the zoning in Surfside has never changed, right? The homes have always been allowed 40% on the first floor and 80% of that on the second floor. So we've maintained that. We made the process a little easier for residents to go through their permitting. As far as commercial construction, we've approved 3 projects. So as you said, there is a lot of commercial development going on.
No plans to change or upzone, and you have Live Local coming up, the state law that could allow for that to happen.
So 2 very important facts. Number 1 is that I live right off of Harding Avenue. Adjacent to Collins, there's no reason why I would ever want to build a big building to block my own light and air that me and my family get to enjoy. So we're all residents. I think people sometimes forget that. They feel like we travel in from Coral Gables or something, be mayor for a few hours and go back home. But we live in this city, so there's no reason why we would want to change it. Live Local, I was the first and only mayor to go out and up to the state and try to stop the project, understanding the side effect and the unintended consequences that these kinds of legislations have on smaller municipalities.
Denser buildings. Let me give Charles Burkett, I want to give you an opportunity. It's TV, we're very tight on time here, and I want to keep it going and give you the opportunity to talk about the same thing, development.
Yeah, listen, there's a thing called...
And as long as I was talking about financials, just let me say that your financials, half of the money, almost, or about half the money, is your own loan.
Right. I feel strongly about what's going on in Surfside. There's a thing called talking the talk and walking the walk. This man talks about not making higher buildings. His planning board has put forward a proposal to more than double the sizes of buildings on Harding Avenue. This man has gone to Tallahassee.
Is the zoning there for that?
The zoning is not there for that, but he's working hard to change it. He's working hard. He's putting forward a proposal to continue to split lots in Surfside, so developers can make more money. You have 1 lot, but if you divide it in 2, then everybody makes more money, and he goes to bat for that. He says yes to every developer that ever asks him a question. As a matter of fact, let me finish this point. We have a project on 93rd Street that was supposed to be 2 stories of units. It's a 3-story building with parking and 2 stories. He came along and crafted a beautiful plan. Now the developer has 3 floors of units, 50% more units. So he's doing favors. He'll tell you he's not, but the fact of the matter he is. He flew around the world to meet with a billionaire developer. Okay, he didn't give anybody any receipts. He didn't tell anybody. He refuses to this day.
You're talking about the Dubai
the
owners
Dubai guy,
of
the billionaire,
Champlain
right? And
Tower
he's
site.
given them all kinds of benefits.
We could talk
If I
about
can
that,
get
but
to-
I want to give the mayor a chance to address your allegations. Favors to developers or something else?
So first of all, very humorous considering my opponent is a developer by trade. I'm in system and application architecture, product development. I own 1 property. That's it. So that's as close as I get to real estate.
I think the question is the zoning is
So
what it is.
let's talk about the
Have
project
you-
he mentioned, right? The project on 93rd to 94th was previously zoned for a hotel. We were going to have wedding halls. We were going to have traffic. It actually had double the units than it has now. So we've de-densified it. Contrary to what my opponent has said, It's not 3 stories of units. They have below grade parking, but it's 2 stories. And it still hits the 40-foot limitation, which has been allowed to code. We have not changed any of that.
Negative. That's not true. And listen, he's
It's
going
all
to talk
public
right
record.
now because
It's
there's
all
no
public
fact.
record. The plans
exactly.
are on the town website.
There's no fact checking. And again, this man's reputation is say one thing and do another. He won't provide the receipts. He won't tell anybody what he spent. He won't tell anybody who he met with. And this is a problem.
So for 2 years, the zoning has not changed, like you said.
In 2 years, the zoning has changed 7 times. Okay, 7 times.
Let me just go, because on my list was something that I wanted to talk about, and that is the transparency of your trip to Dubai. Again, this is not a pejorative or an affirmative, it is a factual question. Nobody in your town knew you had traveled to meet with the owners of the Champlain Towers to talk about the memorial. You did talk about the memorial. Why did you go? What did you do there, and why not make it a more transparent trip for your residents?
So to just go backwards a second, people did know about this trip. That was reported by the Herald, which was inaccurate.
That's not what the families would say. That's not what the families would say.
The families that ran on Chris Cuomo to talk about me with a former commissioner who's a political opponent. But if you look at the facts, I sat down with the families, and two items came out of a lot of the meetings. The first was they wanted part of the property to incorporate into the memorial. The second was they wanted those banners, the hostage banner, not the
That wasn't the question. The question was the receipts.
The banners
that was
of
the
the
question, and he's deflecting again.
Let's let him finish the question, and we can
All
have
right.
time to talk. Okay.
Fair enough.
The second was to get the banners of the names on the site, which was previously on the private site, which was purchased by the developers to try to keep it on longer. So I did tell them that I was going to be out there on a trip to Dubai, which was planned long ahead of me actually being the mayor. And I've explained that at public meetings multiple times. My son had joined the IDF months before I was in office. I knew his graduation date.
So this was an ancillary.
This was an ancillary
part
trip.
of,
I was in Dubai for 5 days, and I spent an hour meeting with this developer. I was
So-
on the way out, and I said, "Can you set me up a meeting? There's 2 issues I wanted to
How
discuss."
nice.
What
What about the receipts, though? You didn't get an answer on the receipts.
What is
Why
your
is he
issue with that?
hiding? He's basically hiding who he met with, when he met with them, what he spent, who paid for his trip over there.
Who paid for the trip?
Who
I
paid for
did.
the trip?
And so I have been very transparent. I've even offered to give I've
Why would
filed
you
every
produce the
receipt.
receipts? He wouldn't.
I filed every receipt as required by Florida
Negative.
statute that pertained to my
Negative.
business aspect of that
We
trip.
will look that up
Yeah.
to get that. So your let's development can segue into a lot of other things, and let's talk about the sea level rise. Surfside is going to be on the tip of the spear of sea level rise, and there is a plan for flooding, a plan from your administration. Where is that, and how would you advance
Well,
that if it's too expensive
The current
to
mayor said I was a developer, and he's a poor little guy who knows nothing and lives in a little house on Harding Avenue, doesn't want big buildings. So
to be fair, that is not the characterization
well,
I heard in our conversation.
Well, that's I think that's what everybody heard, and the implication was I'm the developer, so I have all the developer friends. Well, no, I know the developers. I know how they work. Okay, my development experience was, as you know, in South Beach with all the old Art Deco buildings. I restored and renovated lots and lots of those. That's my experience. Now, I own and operate commercial properties around the country, but I don't develop them. I just invest in them. So I live in Surfside. I don't make my money in Surfside. I don't have investments in Surfside. I just want Surfside to be a quaint little wonderful town like it is. I don't want guys coming along and building bigger buildings, more units. We have enough people in Surfside already.
So you're
We want to make
campaigning
it
on
better
the
for
platform
Surfside.
of keeping everything as
We
it
want to make
is.
it better. No, I'm not. I'm not making. That's not the exactly. I
Development-wise.
want Surfside to be that special little hamlet that it is, and I want to continue to make it better.
Okay, so we have literally a minute and a half left in this
Okay.
segment.
Can I
Talk
add-
to me about, just answer me the question about the flooding project, because that
Well, the flooding
quaint little
project,
hamlet can be underwater in 30
Listen,
years.
when I was the mayor, we put in 2 projects. We had the community vote to put the power lines underground, and we voted, and we, at our commission, we hired the engineer, we put together a flooding mitigation project for Abbott Avenue, which is the worst street on our town, and we basically handed it off to this mayor, who basically took it, both projects and put it on a shelf for 2 years. He's now revived it in the last couple months of his campaign to say, oh, let's have some meetings, let's have some webinars, let's talk about flooding, let's talk about undergrounding, but they've done absolutely positively nothing.
Please answer that.
These projects went out for RFP over 8 months ago, and there's a process when you do large projects like this. But what they did is they underfunded these projects. They picked 2 projects out of the sky, and they said, we're going to do it. And they put $2 million towards a project that came back in after the RFP at $12 million. They funded a $40 million bond, or they had a $40 million bond approved for a project that's probably going to come back at $90 million. So if I give my daughter $10 and tell her to go to the car dealership and buy a Toyota, that doesn't help. So
See, he's complaining now, a month before the election, not a peep. In the first month of his election,
I think
not
we're
a
a couple
peep.
of days before the election.
Well, I'm just saying, but
It's
now he's
Tuesday.
talking about it, but he didn't talk about all these problems that we had. There were no problems. He's making this stuff up. But he should have been talking about this on day one,
When it
not,
comes to
not now.
when it comes to resilience, we had a debate. And one of the questions they brought up was, there was a 2019 climate study. Did you read the book? Did you implement anything? And my opponent hadn't even read it. And he was the mayor for 2 years after that.
Okay, that's it.
We've implemented
So-
multiple projects.
We've
when it comes
implemented
to-
nothing. He's
Here's-
implemented nothing.
Let me share with you the downside of television news is we're so tightly timed, and I think we gave everyone a really
You
good
did.
taste of this race, which is Tuesday. Shlomo Danziger
Tune
and
back
Charles
in.
Burkett, I am grateful for you
Thank
both
you.
to be
Glenna,
here with
thank
us
you for inviting me.
Thank you
Sunday.
for this
I appreciate it.
opportunity.
Best of luck to you both
Thank
in your
you.
future
Thank you.
endeavors.